don't know, to be honest with you, KELA, Brotherhood is something that I did. I really enjoy it. But there's something about it now that I look back and think, yeah, it was nice, it was great, but it's not something that I'm really interested in talking about. I don't go into it that much. I'm not that bothered about it. And it's something that's in my past, and it's a bit hot in here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'll take this off.
It's a bit hot in here.
It's a little bit hot, isn't it?
Yeah.
KILLA Podcast. KILLAofficial.com.
You need the KELA app. 24/7 mini documentaries, podcasts, live shows, DJ live streams, top 5, subscription packages, plus products for all your podcasts and street culture sports. Download it from the App Store for free today.
Beatbox created. And we're here to talk about world music and street culture.
KILLA Podcast.
The thing is, like you mentioned KELA, and I remember KELA when he was a kid.
KILLA. Right, let's get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, KILLA Podcast, come on. Sharing is caring. Make sure you share the shit out of this. We're not doing this for our helves. Big up graffitiKings.co.uk. Supporting our business, you want the KELA app, free download, iPhone, Android, and all that good business. What a way to brighten your day, huh? We have, listen, for the youngers out there, you're about to be schooled. For the elders, you should know better. We're going in with a contender right now, still in the mix, still busy, still at it, active, ultimately the pioneer of the UK Hip Hop sound. And I say sound from production and outwards, yeah?
Couldn't you get him?
Dexter from the Brotherhood, come on!
Hello, mate. Long time. Nice one.
How was that for the intro? All right.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Hey, it's not bad. Hey, listen, I tell it how I see it and I see it how it is.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Thanks for coming down, man, because I know you're coming from out of regions, ain't you? You've had to journey in, ain't you?
No.
Oh, yeah?
No, I live in Tufnell Park. I used to live out in Cray and Orpington.
See, this is where my journey begins, you see. I thought you'd come all the way from Kent.
No, I just drove from Tufnell Park and parked by the station.
That's big and easy. Why are you so late?
Yeah, exactly.
But traffic is bonkers.
Yeah, traffic's crazy. There's roadworks everywhere, and parking here is impossible. So if you're going to do a podcast and you drive, just get a train in. It's much easier.
Yeah, and while you're at it, listen to KILLA Podcast. Look, for those of you that are living under a rock, let's be honest, because we had Spice in from the Brotherhood on some of the earliest episodes. Well, Dexter is 1/3 of the components that created my childhood soundtrack, so serves him right. Brother, to have you sitting here and us having a chat, a debrief, and I don't think we can even go deep enough into the lineage and the history. But I'd love to go forward a little bit. Tell us a little bit about, because we're going in like Covent Garden era. I was barely walking out of. I barely had sneakers.
Yeah, you don't make me feel really old.
Hey, these kids, man. This is some real shit, some
kids,
cultural stuff.
I saw Chester P this morning actually walking his dog.
Did you? Outside Chester, come on.
And he's still a kid to me. Yeah. He's a proper adult man, but to me, he's like chess.
Yeah. We were just talking about KELA and scoring them, and you said that Kidlo.
Kidlo. I mean, KELA was a kid when I met him.
Mad.
And his mate Perry. They were all like these kids. I used to hang out with a friend of mine, Nicola Goodall, who was from Ramsgate. And you'd sell one from Gutter Snipes, who's one of my deepest friends, my son's godfather.
More soundtrack business. And amazing. First Down, by the way. First Down as well.
Yeah, and Prime Cuts and those guys. And when I met those guys through Nicky, they were all kids. And we were kids too. I was, 18, something like that. But they were always a lot younger than me. But it was... I personally don't think I was ever big-headed and looked at people like, I know more than you because I'm older than you. I just used to get down, me, Colt, and MC Can, and Scam, and a few other people, Cammer, Barbie Doll, Trisha. We used to just enjoy being in Covent, not for just the scene, but for the people that were around us, the people we met, Ariane and all these guys, people like... Mode 2 and those guys, we weren't really that interested in because they had their side of Covent and we had our writer's side of Covent.
Talk to me about that. So what? So for those of you who don't know and haven't checked out any of the other podcasts, big ups. Covent Garden, for its time in the 80s, outside of it being the popular tourist spot that we know it now in 2020, whatever date you're watching, it was in the 80s the prominent place for hip hop. It almost like hip hop ascended into the Covent Garden, wasn't it? It was the central point for people to connect and group.
From all over London and outside. They would just come to this place. Some would never go home, it seemed, but you know, the weekends, Friday until Sunday or Monday, people would just hang out. Who all looked the same. You know, because I came from Cray. I came from Chislehurst and Cray. Chislehurst was predominantly, you know, it's neighbouring by Mottingham, which was predominantly a racist area. I've been getting chased when I was a kid and putting up with certain things that I would never put up with now, because it was the 70s. And I never knew, being from like a mixed parentage, mum was Ghanaian, dad was English. Although I've got older brother and 2 older sisters, I never knew where I fit in, how I connected with people, because I was always called that by white people or this by black people. So I never really knew what was going on. My mum was the sort of person who would say, oh, don't worry about all that, what they call you, doesn't matter. But after a while, when you start becoming a teenager, you start to get angry and aggressive, and you don't know why you're getting like that, you know.
Because the screw's been wound up enough.
Yeah,
and you're like,
I mean, you've got white friends who don't understand anything about your culture, and you don't understand about it either.
Yeah.
So I've got a bit of asthma. So you're a bit confused. But then as soon as hip-hop hit, and it opened my eyes to what was going on in the States, and then seeing it in London, and then being part of it, joining it, it really balanced me. It really just said, doesn't matter what you are, mate, but you're part of this. And it wasn't about being black. Then it wasn't about being black or white or whatever. If you did something or you loved something, you loved these elements, you were part of it.
Did Scar have an influence on that as well? Because Scar was very inclusive as well, wasn't
Scar was just before.
Yeah.
So what happened was, I'm writing a story about it, actually. What happened was, Scar, I can't talk for what was going on in London because I wasn't there. I was in Orpington and Bromley and Chislehurst. But Scar madness, the specials, was huge in schools. But there was a skinhead element to it. So that sort of twisted your head a bit.
Yeah,
you know, why would they be racist when they've got all these black guys and Scar is a black music?
Yeah, I feel you.
So it was a bit weird. So after that, and you had like the new mod era and the skinheads and the punks, it was sort of the next generation's thing, the older generation, slightly older generation's thing. But then when funk, jazz funk and soul boys and all that came in, that was nice, but I didn't have straight hair. I love new romantic stuff, but I didn't have straight hair. I couldn't do all that sort of stuff. Simon Le Bonnet.
Yeah. God, I used to love that era too, bro.
Oh, man, that was great. I mean, if you talk to Sparky and like Pogo and all these guys, we appreciate music. So the 80s for music was phenomenal.
Listen, I ain't trying to say it. Listen, comment below. All I'm saying is, it would definitively, freedom, I think, comes into mind.
I mean, if you looked at music, if you looked at freedom in the 80s, if I could define
in music,
it,
of course,
in music, if I could draw comparisons and put it into one object of freedom, it was you could go anywhere in London for free because you didn't have to pay. You just jumped and you bunked fares.
Right.
And that was music. That was life then.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? We all moaned about life, Thatcherism and all that.
Yeah.
But we were free. We used to go to Cambridge for nothing. We
That's
would go
mad.
to Covent Garden for nothing. Because we could just jump over barriers, just go anywhere you wanted.
Yeah. Which is why graph writers was so...
Oh, mate, it's a dream, right? I mean, nowadays...
Just hop over this turnstile and just do it.
And just do it. Just get into that yard and do what we had to do. Yeah. Not me, personally, but a lot of my mates will come if you want to come to that. But, yeah, I mean... So the first time I went to Covent Garden was, I'd say, 83, 84. And I went there up with my crew back then from Bromley called Shockbox.
Shockbox.
They were called Shockbox. And later on, a guy called Breakaway joined. But we had already been to Spats. We had little kids who were breaking, so they were kind of cute. But they were friggin' furious.
Yeah.
And we had Prince Crazy Pot, who's a popper.
Secret
and all this
weapon
sort of
shit, you know.
We did a Brixton thing and we battled Taco and all these guys. And I hadn't seen it just blew up and everyone was doing it. But when I was at Covent in those days, I was very much an outsider.
Because you're from out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I could see all these different Aussies crew and Sidewinders and all these different people. This is pre-London All-Stars, pre-Zulu Rockers, This is before... This is when Dolby D was in Sidewalk.
How tight Dolby?
Oh, yeah. You know.
Legit.
He'd kill us if we didn't say...
Bonafide article, Don. Yeah.
He would kill us. But, you know, if we mentioned Covent and not him. But, yeah, it was when I was to see Sidewalk and I didn't like it because I felt the energy was so... I'm not really into this. So I went back to where I was from with my breakers and my poppers, got into drinking in pubs, having a few scraps with mates and that.
Oh, I know them ones.
Yeah. Late nights, never again.
You avoid it for years and then she comes and captures you.
When you're vomiting your nuts or in your... Oh, God.
Yeah, and you tried to genteelly do it, but it never was...
Never do it. And then after a while, you're just doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Anyway.
The memes on this are going to be crazy, trust me.
Terrible, man. Oh, God. Anyway, so then I got in heavily into scratching. I got turntables. My mate Lee Boy, who was practicing graffiti in Bromley, was down with a guy called Scribbler. And we got into turntables. We went to Freestyle 85 and saw Cosmic. There's a whole long story about Cosmic Jam. But that really opened my eyes up to the breaks and what they were playing. The London lot were playing. I'll give it up to Swift and Pogo and Cosmic, rest his soul, and Master Mixer, or what was his name? What were they called? Mix Masters, I think. And they were playing breaks. And I was like, what are they playing? Because to us, hip-hop was Marley Marl or electro.
Not that, the DNA of those big tracks were what were the foundations, and they were playing them. See what I mean? We're getting some education right here, people.
Well, watching Wildstyle and seeing Grandmaster Flash before WizKid came out, seeing Grandmaster Flash, he wasn't scratching Treacherous Free records. He was scratching things that I didn't even know.
Yeah, that's right. The original.
Yeah, Bob James. And you're like, what is that? Why is he? Yeah. So when I went to Freestyle 85, it clicked that this is hip hop. That's hip hop. Yeah. It's not what Tim West was playing on LWR. I never really listened to that.
Yeah.
It's what Dave VJ and Mastermind and Dave and Max Mix. I can't remember their names. Cut It Up Max were playing on Invicta.
Yeah.
They were doing hip hop. They were scratching.
Mastermind was the real deal, wasn't it? Like that.
Mastermind.
That whole era. Yeah.
I mean, that was being from Chislehurst and listening to that show. My mate Rashpool, who passed away, and Bradley Haig and those guys, they turned me into Invicta. And that was phenomenal.
I just wish, I've heard, if you big up B-Boy Documents, I'm always big up B-Boy Documents, that's my people's right there. B-Boy Documents, put me into a whole bunch of, I think for a lot of this podcast, it's been a self-serving effort in research and development, and thankfully I've got friends that happen to be digging the same shit as I do, so they're like, they put me on things, and Victor in that whole era of hip-hop, the old school, such a golden era.
And they were older, because I used to listen to Dave VJ and Mix and Cut It Up Max, and they were older than me. So when I met them at Kiss FM with Brotherhood and stuff, it was like, wow, you're and they were just like, and so I was like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, and I'm like that with you.
No,
that's you, bro.
Well, that's understandable, of course. But it was so. Then what happened after that was, I got heavily into scratching. That was it. And I met. I went to do a show with my mate Malcolm and Darren Brown. We went to this place in Plumstead. The story was we were asked if we were scratch DJs. I said yeah. A guy called Merlin approached me. Said, this is my beatbox Blade. Would you scratch up something and we'll beatbox you? I'll rap. I said, yeah, cool. I cut up Good Times. Blade was beatboxing. Merlin was rapping. Everyone went crazy.
Yo!
And then I came off stage and there was another group there called PIC. So I walked past them and I said, you were great. And they were like, yeah, you're really good at scratching. Do you want to... And I said, well, I'm sort of with Merlin now. And they were like, all right, cool. They took my number and it was Perry and Gary. and didn't hear much from them. Thing with Merlin didn't really work out. And then I can't remember how, but I think Perry called me and we got together and we did some rapping stuff. Gary went on to do stage work. And then Perry started writing PIC everywhere. But we would still be practicing. And
Right, so there's your lineage, there's your history right there.
PIC, I mean, he's
Whoa,
my
All
brother,
City.
you know.
He's All City. I think you put he's the benchmark of All City in my opinion.
And he's a top bloke, Perry. Do you know what I mean? He's just brilliant. He's never, in my eyes, he's never changed. You know.
Oh, that's such a nice thing to say.
He's awesome.
That's a lovely thing to say.
And he said, I went up to London, I was tagging and I met these graffiti writers and they said I was famous. And I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, he said they knew my tag and all that. Come up to Covent Garden. I was like, nah, I'm not going up there, it's a bunch of wankers. And they were like, no, come on. So one Saturday, I think he stayed over. He did stay over because he tagged St Mary's Cray and one of the tags is still there.
Stop it.
Yeah, it's really faded, but I know
Is it?
exactly where it is. It's on the next street up from my mum's old house. And it's still there.
What?
Still there, yeah. So we're talking 86. And it's really faded, but it's still there. It's nuts. I better get a photograph for it.
I
Really
think
goes.
you please do.
Definitely. Or take him down and let him do it again.
At this point, just big up Blade, obviously, with the beatboxing.
And Merlin.
And the 521 channel.
So Blades, you know, it's a different story.
Tell me about with Covent Garden, because for we spoke about this before jumping in, the undertones of Soho, you know, as a backdrop to Covent Garden and the more free-for-all creative, you know, explosion that hip-hop was. Like, there must have been some very... Because we all hear stories of how, you know, romantic and nostalgic and, you know, and how youthful it was. I'm sure there's a real story
Yeah,
to this.
with youthful, when there's youth around, there's always an older element and there's always an element that wants something from the youth. You got to remember that Covent Garden was in Soho, and there was some serious. I didn't know at the time, but talking to certain people that I do know, that are deeply in with me, like good friends of mine, there were some elements going on behind the scenes that were far from legal. It's a deep one. It really is. Some of the stories that I've been told, because I'm doing a creative writing degree, so I'm calling on lots of different things to write. And there's a real seedy underside to what we created, what was created and we moved into.
So you kind of, yeah.
And it's to
Entering
do
a bit of
with,
a parapet
I mean, you've
of-
got to think the 80s,
Yeah.
the drug scene, people were living on the streets, people were doing whatever they did for money.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if you were in Covent Garden doing one thing 1 minute, you could be doing something else in a club somewhere else to get those trainers, to get whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
I do.
I don't want to go into it too because I'm going to write
Yeah,
about
because
it.
you're going to write about it. You're going to have to find a motherfucking book. But interestingly, I go into Soho now,
Yeah.
in this era, and I sometimes say, you know, this ain't what it used to be.
No, it's...
And
Have you
people-
been to Times Square in the last 10 years?
No.
Right. I went to Times Square in 1986.
What was it like back then?
Fucked.
Really?
It was. If you've ever seen Kojak
Yeah.
and Hill Street Blues,
Yes.
New York, the cabs would do that driving.
Yeah.
It was, my mate was like, we don't want to go to 42nd Street, and I was like, yeah, I do. And it was strip joints. It was strip joints, liquor stores, and electrical shops, and shit everywhere.
Really?
Times Square was not what I thought it would be. It was.
Wasn't there the light? Because, you know, I just think of the lights and the capitalism and...
Well, you
and
had the
large.
lights,
Yeah.
and you had the belt buckle store,
Yeah.
and you had Music Factory,
Yeah.
but you also had the bums and the junkies and just people interchanging it, and there was nothing there. There was no money in it.
Really?
It was a rundown shithole, but it was New York. It was amazing. I went back there for 2012 for the Lebowski Festival, and it was like Nike, Gap, Disney had bought the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was all jazz hands, and it was like, wow, what happened to New York? I would actually eat there now. Do you know what I mean? There's a story, I remember talking to DJ Pogo when he came back from the seminar. And we were chatting about New York and, you know, because we weren't friends at first. So we've sort of parted ways now. But I've got the deepest respect for his history. And we were talking about it. And he said, yeah, man, I saw this fucking great big rat in New York. It was massive in this alleyway. And I said, yeah, I saw one by a McDonald's. And he went, McDonald's on 48th Street, 42nd Street. And I said, yeah, on the corner of an alleyway. He went, yeah. I said, that's where I saw the rat. And he said, yeah, I saw a rat like that in there as well. But we didn't...
How big was the rat?
I can't remember. It was fucking huge. It was
really
massive.
not about that business.
It was massive.
Really?
Because he said he saw it. And he talked to me about it. And I was like, I saw a rat in the same alleyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's probably not the same rat.
No, but there's an infestation going on.
But
you don't just see those things.
Yeah, it was just the idea of that we both saw massive rat at a different time.
Yeah.
It was like, fucking hell.
But do you feel like with those kind of... with that kind of landscape of dilapidation and poverty and homelessness, all the different ingredients that create what you're talking about, there's only one route to flourishing something like a new culture. It's like from the suppression of, you get creative. With restriction came that creativity, with that opportunity of just anything, working within your resources. It's kind of what punk music, hip hop, all the music of its time grew from.
And the seedy side of Covent Garden.
Yeah.
If you look at it like that, you can say that out of this thing of I can do to what can we get to we don't want to let it go, but now it's out of our control. And you can, you know, with punk music, with everything, as soon as money can be made out of it, the Russell Simmonses come out.
Yeah, the Malcolm McLarens come out.
The Malcolm McLarens come out, you know. And they're the people who are that generation above who understand how things work. And so when you've got someone who's 17 and you say, you're going to be a millionaire. Have you seen the Beastie Boys documentary?
No, talk to me about it.
Unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah, it made me cry.
Really? Was it on Netflix, sorry?
It's on Apple TV.
That's why I haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah. you cheap git. Put your hand in your pocket. But it's amazing. It made me cry. And it just... we toured with the Beastie Boys. We did a few shows with them. We met MCA. But I didn't meet the other two. But the way they spoke about the 80s and Def Jam and everything, and the love-hate relationship, and to be able to just let that go, it really humbled me. I was like, wow, you know something? This has happened all over the world with our culture.
It's a common thread.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you know, we could go on for ages about
well,
this.
yeah,
but...
and there's a lot of things that are coming to light now, especially with the Bambaataa thing, KRS-One jumping in.
We knew about Bambaataa in the 80s. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It was because when you were a kid, I mean, my mate got flashed in the park when he was a kid. He was like, "You dirty old bastard!" Blah, blah, blah. It wasn't a big thing.
Yeah.
So when people knew about what Bam was up to and all that, it wasn't like it was just like dirty old bastard. But now you look at it because you've got kids, and you look at it and you think, fucking hell, mate, what are you doing? What are you doing? Do you know what I mean? It's like, whoa. Yeah. And he's just one person. Yeah. I mean, Brotherhood, we did shows with Bam. Bam was great.
Yeah.
But obviously not the sort of bloke you want to invite to your kid's birthday party.
I ain't got nothing against him, but I wouldn't want to rub against him.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, I mean, R. Kelly as well. All these. I mean,
mate, he's a different kettle of fish.
But anyway, yes,
Sarillion.
Yes, I mean, he's just yes, absolutely, absolutely. And with that, you took stock with all the different elements because, like you say, you then got into breaks, you then got into DJing, you then got into production.
Yeah.
Was that the next course of action?
That just sort of happened. Really? Yeah, because breaks. You got to remember, KELA, back then there were different sorts of... when you said DJ to someone, they thought of Dave Lee Travis, Tony Blackburn.
Yeah.
And they were DJs.
I still do.
Yeah, I bet you do. But then you had someone who was a hip-hop DJ who was like Westwood. He was in Spats, but he just played records. So you had a generation of people that were mixmaster, like my mate Mac, Mixmaster Mac. he would mix records together because the SL1200s let you do that. So you would have all these different people, the Mad Hatters and, the Kiss DJs who weren't Kiss DJs then, all these people who were mixing soul and funk, they were there. A hip-hop DJ was either someone that was like Westwood, who played records, but we screwed DJing up because if you were a hip-hop DJ, you were a scratch DJ, you were a mix DJ. And my thing was, it's why I don't like playing out, because I never played out. If I had a breaker to cut records for, I'm there. If I got rappers to hold a beat for, I'm there. Studio work, I'm there. Playing to a load of people in a club for 3 hours, fucking shoot me.
I am so with you on that.
Shoot
like,
me.
the more you've just explained my critique on what DJing is now.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that should be the premise of what you go out and DJ for as a hip-hop DJ. I mean, listen, fucking comment below. But I do feel like there is a lot of people that are just DJing for the sake of it.
Yeah.
To earn some money.
But you must understand the respect of what we did.
Yeah.
So I did a gig for PIC.
Yeah.
His graffiti exhibition.
Oh yeah, I
thing.
saw this. Yeah, and listen, big up PIC for the exhibition.
Yeah, he's doing well.
And Finn, hold tight.
Yeah, he's a great kid, man.
Yeah, he's on it.
And I can't see the computer properly.
Yeah.
Because, I'm old. Yeah. So I asked Prime Cuts. Perry said it was going to be a few people for a couple of hours. So I
that old sausage.
that old story. I've got him now.
Yeah.
So I said to Prime Cuts, do you want to do it with me? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I rocked up with turntables. He had a mixer in his computer. And we played back to back. He had his playlist and we played back to back. And that really worked for me because there wasn't any stress.
Pressure.
And it was great playing with him. And then he would say, go on then, and I'd get on. And my mate Colt and Mixmaster Mac and Cell One, they're all, and my boy Lee, are always saying, you've got to get out and do stuff. You've got to get out and do stuff. And taking Joel home to his house, not mine, taking him home, he was saying, watching you DJ tonight, it's a natural thing, and you need to be doing it. You need to be doing it. Now, I will happily play back-to-back with people, but to be put in the spotlight, I'm all right with people and talking and whatever.
Yeah.
But to be told, entertain these people with music...
Where to begin?
Forget that. I'm like,
Because there's a lot of feelings to consider and a lot of journeys to be...
Yeah, there is. You've got to look at... I mean, Pogo said you've got to know
man.
how to work the crowd.
Yeah.
Mate, come on. I'm not
No.
like that.
Yeah, I feel you. I 100% feel you. You need to go out with some breakers or something. You know what I mean?
I'd love to cut up for breakers. If we can do what Perry's got an idea, if that comes to fruition, that will be amazing.
Wow,
I'll be there 100% with him to do that.
See, watch his space.
Yeah, definitely.
When did the Brotherhood surface? Because, I mean, this sounds to me like it was a little bit later.
To be honest with you, KELA, Brotherhood is something that I did. I really enjoy it. But there's something about it now that I look back and think, yeah, it was nice, it was great, but it's not something that I'm really interested in talking about. I don't go into it that much. I'm not that bothered about it. And it's something that's in my past, and it's a bit hot in here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'll take this off.
It's a bit hot in here.
It's a little bit hot, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something that I don't really want to talk about it. But if you want
For those of you who are listening and not watching, we've just had the Superman effect where all of a sudden the jackets come off. And
oh my God, I didn't even notice.
He's got himself a Brother t-shirt.
How terrible of
which
me.
I'm immediately eyeing up as like he's not
Christ.
leaving this house with that on his
so
back.
sorry about
I'll
that.
exchange it.
Really bad. I just pulled it out.
I would be wearing that night because again, the first time I saw you guys actually as a I think it was 4 of you actually. It was on. I think it was on like a Dance Energy or it was a Def 2 program.
Def 2?
Do you remember Def 2? It was a BBC 2 thing that used to be on at 6 o'clock. From 6 o'clock and after.
Fuck, you saw that?
Yeah.
The producer on that was a dick.
Ha! Revelation.
Was it a three? There was 3 different music cultures.
Yeah, that's right.
And you had to vote for the one you wanted, and we won it.
Yes.
Our boy Daniel Levy got us, who obviously became Ali G.
Yeah. There you go. So, and this is where that correlates because Spice did mention on his Popping Up Spice, the episode of that particular show had Ali G Was he there?
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Sacha Baron.
No, we met him at another thing.
But he just ripped off your boy.
Well, the thing is, Daniel worked on that show,
Right.
right? So Sacha must have seen that show. And when we were touring, when we were doing like radio tours, we did a show when Sacha was hosting it, like a breakfasty sort of big breakfasty sort of thing. And we got on really. My mate's brother was the cameraman. That's why we got on there. And Virgin had the connection, and Sacha was hosting it, and we sort of got on with him, and it was cool. But then we saw Ali G, and all three of us were like, it was Spice who was like, yeah. Who does that remind you of? And I was like, oh, I don't know. He was like, think, who does it remind you of? And we were like, oh, shit, that's Danny. And he was like, yeah, I'm telling you. So when Shylock saw Cohen in a club, and he said to him,
See what you're doing.
He was like,
really?
yeah,
Gave him
like, whoa, don't expose me. But it was 100% poor Danny.
Yeah.
Because really, I think that did to him what the Rubber Face did to Craig David.
100%.
You know?
100%.
And that's a crime in itself.
It is a crime in itself,
That's
yeah.
a fuckery move.
Yeah. That's
So I don't like the idea of, I love comedy. I love
but
comedy.
using that
but
to
using somebody's fame to fuck someone.
bully.
Bully them. It's 100%.
It's bullying, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think that's disgusting.
It's cheap.
Yeah, I
Low
mean,
blows.
Mel B's obviously gets on with that, and she doesn't mind him doing all that stuff. But that ruined a man's career.
Yeah.
And you owe your career
Yeah.
to destroying somebody else's.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sit well with me
Yeah.
at all.
Because it's almost like you need to pay them back.
You do, yeah. He really does. He needs to have a proper podcast.
How was it? I mean, I only can't speak for Danny, but how was it for him when he saw that?
We had already fallen out with him. We had already kicked into the curb by then, darling. We moved on. I mean, I don't know if he knew anything about it. I've not spoken to him for God knows how many years. But, you know, I don't even know if he even realised.
So you don't think he clocked? Well,
he might have. But who knows? Because he changed his whole persona. And went on and did tennis coaching and whatever. You know, I'd love to meet him again. I'd love to see him again. But yeah, that was what that was.
How many albums did you? Because I remember Elementals being again just it's such a seminal album, and
Yeah, but people didn't like it.
why?
People, hip hop heads, who were making hip hop music like the London Posse or the Demon Boys or boom bap hip hop. Didn't like Elementals.
I just
if
saw
they liked
it.
it.
I saw it. It's like, you know, but then again, that's youthful wisdom, isn't it? You come into a scene and you just absorb. You want everything.
Yeah. See, that's what I liked about people who were outside of it because they do absorb. I was talking to you about Bristol in the cafe, and they do absorb. You know, they wouldn't have just listened to the music. They would have looked at the artwork and taken it all in. It was an artistic thing. It was.
Yeah, you need to know every little nook and cranny of a, and that was something about the Elementals album, One Shot. I remember seeing a video. Anyway, look, I'm just going to gush for that. What happened? How come you guys? It was almost like 1 minute you were there, next minute it was like, poof, gone.
Well, our manager Martz died right at the end of making the album. Underdog was managed by Martz, our manager, and we were managed by Martz. Now that would have worked if it wasn't hard working with Underdog.
Right.
And he found it hard working with us. When Martz died, what we didn't understand as a threesome, what we didn't understand was that Trevor and Martz had the ear of Virgin. And this is one of the reasons why I stopped drinking, because of what I saw in Virgin parties. If you want, I'll come to that.
Yes, please. All right.
And I think, I can't speak for Shylock and Spice, but I personally think that we got to such a place where we thought we were untouchable because we were fucking good.
Yeah, you were really good.
I'm not going to blow smoke up my arse. I would if I could, believe me, I would. But we were on stage. I believe there was no one that could touch us on stage because I personally based all our stage shows on Run DMC. Spice got it. Shylock joined it. And when they started to do the crowds, because you remember Spice came from a dancing background, so he knew
the whole thing,
And Shylock was very much acting school before when we got signed and ruined his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew about celebrity and they knew about all this, and I knew about music, and I'd seen concerts and I'd.
So you'd already levelled up. All it was just like plugging in.
That's right, exactly. And so when they would work the crowd, and it got to a point where Shylock would look over to me and he could say track 3 B-side or something like that.
Oh, God, that's cool. God.
And then
he was just did the hand signals for those that are listening.
We would just have a running list. But if he wanted to switch something up, he would do it. He would say. And then I would like, if we were doing stuff, they'd be in full swing. And if Spice looked over and they looked over, I'd say, watch this. And I'd go bang and put something like deep cover in. And instantly they would lock onto it. Bang, bang, in the groove. But people didn't. People who were our people here just thought we were arrogant pricks. And we were arrogant pricks because we could be. Because we were the Brotherhood. We were signed to Virgin. This was our job. And we were cocksure of ourselves. And with that, record companies don't... If you're making lots of money, record companies will give you everything you want.
Yeah.
Bang, take it. Yeah, we love you guys. If you're not making money, because hip-hop's this big in this country, people in England then didn't want to listen to a Jewish guy, a white guy, and a mixed race guy, if I'm allowed to say that anymore, talking about not really social issues, because there weren't any that we could... I mean, come on, Shylock's from North London, middle class. Chris is his thing, and I'm my thing, middle class, for all wants and purposes, you know. We had nothing to rap about, really, but we just made it work. We had things we liked. We took it out and we did stuff. But the Underdog said in an interview he did, and I'm 100% with you, Trev, and I love you to bits. I don't care what anyone says. You worked 110% on that album through the worst time. So he said egos were bigger than album sales. It's 100% true.
Yeah,
100% true. But when we got the go ahead to do a second album, and Underdog couldn't work with us, or we couldn't work with him, we got a new manager, Neil Easterby, who had started Payday Records in New York. Yeah, Neil.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
With Richard Ramsey and Patrick Moxey. We were his first signing, and he was like one of the boys. He was funny as fuck.
Really? Yeah,
brilliant. And we delivered a second album that I think pissed all over Elementals.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah. The MCing was absolutely crafted to a spec. Everything was brilliant on that album because me and Charlotte were doing the production, and everything was us. It's like giving...
What?
It's like giving a drummer his ultimate drum kit and saying, do a solo.
Sick.
Everything locked on the album, but we only got it to demo stage, and we gave it to them as a demo. Demos had moved on. Do you know what I mean? George Michael's demos were...
Yeah.
So it's mixed in psalm.
So what happened with that?
It's still there. It's just every now and again I let it out to some people, and I thought you were going to get a copy. No.
We didn't got the memo on that one.
But yeah, it's just called The Unreleased. In my mind, and we did an EP with Monroe, the studio, Hank Hughes' label. We did an EP and we took a couple of tracks off of that and did a whole new track. Dungeon Town, with Light of the World.
Bells, yeah.
Which was brilliant. That was Shylock's idea, and Spice got in Light of the World because his uncle knew them. So they came in and replayed all the horns. And we did this all on our own back, you know.
Yeah, tour de force. So this was a campaign of how many years from inception of Brotherhood to these more later
I joined in 93. I joined in 92 because my daughter was 2. And it was just me and Shylock. Diablo left to do reggae. Pump Action, who became DJ Crystal, and Danny went to play tennis.
An MC called Pump Action.
No, he was a DJ.
Dude,
DJ Pump
anyone
Action.
called Pump Action, just honestly, that needs to be a plaque somewhere. What
The Carry On sort of
What?
escape with that. And then we got,
Amazing.
then Spice joined. We went and did a little tour with Blade around Germany, which was hilarious. And then we met Martz through Trevor, who was doing remixes. So we're talking, really only lasted about 4 or 5 years. And then Shylock ended it.
Shylock ended it.
Yeah, Shylock ended it. Just didn't want to do it anymore. He wanted to. Had already had a job.
Well, what? Okay, so how come he to end it? What you need was it? Was this a collective decision? So how come he just decided, and everyone else bailed as well?
No. Oh well, they sort of bailed earlier,
Right?
But as a three of us,
yeah,
we did this new album.
yeah,
We were hanging on to our publishing deal with MCA,
right.
and we had a new manager to go to. We had a meeting with him for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, in King's Cross, and he said, "I'm going to level with you. We can't get you a major record deal. No one's going to touch you a barge pole." And I think we were a bit like, "Oh, fucking hell." But I can get you an independent in Germany or France or Japan because they love hip hop. Because they were always ahead of us.
Yeah. They were ahead. Yeah.
And I wanted to take the band in the Beastie Boy route of independence and just doing it and putting stuff out on our own
Which
label.
is like the norm now, isn't
Yeah,
it? That was
exactly.
it.
And I think Spice had the idea of bringing in a female singer, and we were 100% behind this. And we actually went from being in with Virgin and thinking, "What are we going to do?" to, "Hold on a minute, the world's our oyster now. We can get into Europe.
Yeah.
We can have this. This
Yeah,
is going
yeah.
to be good. We need 1 year. Is all we
Re-export
need."
yourself, sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
1 year.
Yeah.
We've crafted. We're frigging
Yeah.
good. We got an album ready to go.
Yeah.
This is it. We had that meeting. We got in the car. Spice sat in the front, passenger. Lawrence driving, because I couldn't drive then. I'm sitting behind. We were really happy.
Yeah.
And he said, "No, I'm out, guys. It's not going to happen for us." And we were like, "What?" He said, "That's it. I've got a job with so-and-so, and I need to make money." And that was that. I'll never fucking forgive him for that. I love him to bits. Trust me. I do. But personally, I can't speak for Chris, for Spice. But I gave him the best years of my hip-hop life. The best one. I was programming, flying with it. I brought my friends to the table, my contacts to the table, everything. And I was 100% in this band.
Yeah.
They were my family.
Yeah.
And he fucking cut it in half. And to this day, no, you know what? I might be aggressive when I'm talking about it. I can understand why he did it, but I wish he hadn't. Because all we needed was 1 more year, and we would have been all right. I just knew it. We would have been all right.
Was Shy? Was he like was he a conductor of sorts? I'm trying to get an understanding of why Spice and you disbanded at the same time as this.
No, we didn't. We kept on going.
Right. Okay.
But it just wasn't the same, you know.
Right.
And I wanted to make an album for Chris on the back of what we had done, and we were really solid in what we were doing. And then the opportunity for him to go abroad and support his family, he did. And that was great because he was mixing in the right circles. I don't know what he was doing there, but he was mixing in the right circles. When I was at home, I had a new kid strapped to me, and I was trying to make beats, and I was working my little basement and and I was dead in the water. And then I started doing the pop stuff with Richard, with Biff and Julian, the commercial stuff.
Right.
And that went really well for me. And then I sort of got ousted from that. And then...
Ousted?
Yeah, it was a real stupid thing to happen.
So these guys, they bumped you?
They basically showed me how to write songs and produce. And I did that. And then one day we went to the Brits, and we were celebrating Five getting an award, and we were celebrating the Spice Girls, and And then they just stopped talking to me straight the next day.
Yeah?
Yeah, and just that was the end of that. It was the end of that.
That, no other community.
No, nothing for years. Nothing for years until they split up and then wanted me to work with whoever. And
What kind of fucking behaviour is that?
it was outrageous. But like I've had this discussion loads of times, and Richie is one of my closest mates. He really is. And I really miss working in studios and working with him especially because there was a real unit and connection. But it was a long time ago and people change. You know what I mean? People just change over time and I think you realise why things were done. And
You think you understand it? So this,
I do understand it now.
You know
I
what?
was a fucking nightmare to work with, I was. Because I was just fucking about all the time.
No, listen, man. I have this kind of running thing in my head. We had this conversation downstairs in the coffee shop with the status, the London status thing, you know. And it kind of falls in like, right, actually, let me just recap. So downstairs.
It's weird looking at the camera and thinking that, you know. Go on, sorry.
You know, that my friend Andy downstairs, big up Andy, I know you're listening, you know, that to be outside of London, in London, you suddenly come across this status thing within everything in London. You know, Bristol, Brighton, maybe they have them in their own certain ways. But where I'm coming to is, in this world, you know, and however many podcasts I've done, I think the approach that I like to give is one of the door's always open, and it isn't actually about it isn't about music, it isn't about industry. It's like I've never understood people that come into your life, get what they want, and go.
Fuck you off. Yeah.
That shit does not fly with me. I'm like, yo, where's your humanity? Like, where are you?
Yeah.
And sometimes I get you. You've got to better devil you know. You've got to accept people for their faults. You've got to accept people for... But then there's a little bit of me. It's like, what is your fucking problem anyway?
Well, I get what you're saying. I totally, because I lived it, you know, and I was depressed. I was upset. It hurt. I couldn't get back into it. I just lost everything. People were being told that I wasn't working in the industry anymore when people wanted to use me.
Yeah.
And I spiraled, you know. Yeah. I spiraled. It's a good job I didn't start drinking again. And I really spiraled and it was a depressive time, you know. It was horrible. And I was hit by the tax man. You know, he wanted 40 grand from Brotherhood and from other stuff.
I bet, yeah.
So that was, and it wasn't the days of when they send you a nice email. They were knocking on the door. And big up to my mate Steve Pang, who shelled out a couple of grand for me to get them off my back and to sort myself out from Los Angeles. I remember being in Oxford Street. Well, I saw you actually.
Really?
Yeah. I was in Oxford Street outside Selfridges at about 10 o'clock in the morning.
No way.
And I was in a phone box talking to the Inland Revenue and I had a mobile talking to Steve in LA. And he was saying, tell them I'm giving you this money because I had nothing. And I was saying, he's going to do it. And they were going, well, we need him to do it now. And I was going, Steve, blah, blah, blah. And he was going, yeah, what's the account? And I was literally in a phone box like that with my arse hanging out.
Yeah.
And I was like, this can't get any worse. And it didn't. It didn't. It got better. And it doesn't matter how low you can get. And the whole thing that happened with me and Spice, it's common knowledge. The guy doesn't like me. Whatever.
I mean, this isn't the ultimate common knowledge to understand that.
Oh, right, okay. Well, he doesn't.
Okay.
But the thing is, I'm not going to defend myself over that shit because what happened was, I might as well tell you as I'm here. Okay, so when he got back from New York, he wasn't the same guy. And I needed him to be the same guy that I loved. And he, not in a homosexual way, but as a guy that I grew up with into this band, and he wasn't, and his rap was his vocals were affected by this. And I had a conversation with the guy I was working with, Hank Hughes, who owned Monroe, and I was working with him, and he was talking about the excess of smoke in the studios, and people were complaining, and I was saying, I need him to rap and to get his head in this, not over there, but here. Let me talk to him. I'm going to sit down with him and I'm going to have a really good discussion with him because he's not focused. I don't feel he's focused as he was.
Well, how were you at this stage? Because was there an air of over focus? You know, you're back against the wall kind of thing,
Yeah,
and you wanted, and you needed.
But the thing,
Was there an anxiety there?
Yeah, big time.
Right.
But the thing is,
Yeah, I'm coming from. Maybe there's a level of disparity between you guys and them because it's been narrowed down. The field's been narrowed.
Yeah.
And then there's you that's desperately holding on to the wild horse.
Yeah.
Wanting to get as much as you can out of
us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Out of us.
Yeah.
Because I can see what can be done. And I'm like, we've only got another 5 years of this before something, because something had already happened by here that I'd seen that really made me think, we are Christmas rapping. We are Run DMC Christmas rapping.
What for?
So I knew the Brotherhood as it was.
What, from a Virgin point of view?
No. From a British point of view. I'll tell you about it if you want.
Yeah,
If
sure.
you'd like to hear it.
Sure, I mean, you know.
It's so with Spice, before I could talk to him about it, certain things had happened behind the scene. I had teamed up with my old mate Biff again. He had opened a studio in this complex, which was being shut down. So I had to get all my stuff out. Hank got the arsehole with me and told, this is all bitching. This is all bitching. It doesn't mean anything. He said this, he said that. I got caught in the middle of it and I lost a really good friendship out of it. That's the bottom line.
I think that's the hardest thing to
That's
accept.
the bottom line. Somebody said something, and I was the ghost.
Yeah.
I was screwed.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because how it was, it's like if you send somebody a text and say, go fuck yourself. And you're laughing when you're saying it, but they read it like, you slag. Why did you say that to me? You know? And my best interests are for my mates. I want all of us to do well. Spice had this saying, if I eat, you eat. And I've never been truer than that. It's brilliant. But hey, you know what? That happened. It is what it is. This is over. I'll put it to rest. What happened with the Brotherhood in my mind is we did our last show, which I found the video of actually at King's Cross. But the other video I've got has snapped and I want somebody to fix it. And I was backstage with the Brotherhood and a crew called the Mud Family. And I was filming these kids who lived in my area. All these, what was his name? Chester, Skinny, Mongo, who I knew his mum.
Yeah.
And there's another kid, is it not Excel, is his name Excel? Black hair, small. Oh, I can't remember.
Skinny, comment below.
Yeah, mate, I can't remember. But you were all sitting in this little room and I was filming you. And we knew them and we were good mates. And then they started freestyling. And I was like, what is this animal?
Because Spice and Skinny are super tight friends.
Yeah, I'm tight with Skinny.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you fall out with someone and you're all mates. You know, you're an adult. You just get on with it. Because I don't get on with that one doesn't mean I can't have a pint with that one.
Yeah.
You know. And I watched this thing, this freestyle thing, and I thought, we are fucked because we can't do this. And if they're rapping about this shit and it's really happening in my neighbourhood and I don't know about it, then we are Christmas rapping Run DMC greatest hits.
Got you. So that's the analogy there.
So then I filmed Chester and I've got Chester rapping. And he says this lyric, something blah, blah, blah. Take your accent straight back to this, take your fake hip-hop straight back to the States and tell all you Yankee fakes London's full up with hate.
Whoa.
And everyone exploded and I was like, yeah. I was like, fuck me. That kid, who the hell are these guys? And I knew them. Skinny had been to my house, you know. But I think that was the first time I saw Chester. And I just thought, as a producer of hip-hop, as a producer of pop music, who understands what a producer is. He's not a guy who sits there with an SP12 or an MPC and bangs out beats and lets his mates rap on them. He's a guy that gets George Michael in and makes that idea sound like the fucking heaven. If I can do what I've learnt with these pop people, with these people, but bring to the table my elements of hip-hop, we can flood this country with quality hip hop.
And one thing, listen, I'm purely spectating here because, you know, I didn't really step into London until like 97, 98. It's like, I was like, so like, and I was green as well, especially coming out of the toilet after an hour and a half of bunking. But for real, like, as an observer, German hip-hop, French hip-hop, they just were always ahead of the game.
Mate, ahead of the curve.
And if you were to use a benchmark on what grime is doing now, right now in the UK, that arguably, God help me for saying, don't fucking start on the comments, but there would have been a UK hip-hop equivalent of what grime is now.
If we weren't still stuck in Covent Garden.
Yes. That real thing.
Yeah.
That's an unfortunate. That was catchy back then.
Yeah, keep it real.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice.
It's unfortunate because German hip hop excelled to the point of platinum. Big up Sammy Deluxe each and every time. Like all of these guys, Stieber Twins, Jesus Torch, Curse, all these amazing German MCs and artists that started in the same paddocks as what we did.
Yeah.
UK was the gateway capital to PR.
We spoke the same English we spoke English, like the States.
And they still look upon it now as like they lean more on the grime thing as of complete and utter cultural interest.
Mate, how did America... First of all, when I went over there, they knew what Monty Python was and they laughed at it, kind of. The young ones used to come on after it. They had no idea what was going on. Yeah, I would laugh like a drain about it. You know, Rick Mel.
Yeah. Come on.
So and then The Office hit America and they got that.
I know.
And I was like, that's not the Americans I know. For them to get grime and drill,
yeah.
Some people have asked me, they should all pay homage to us. They should all say, well, we've still got our hip hop artists.
Yeah.
They've never been better. They're
Badass.
amazing.
Oh my God, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Some of the lyrics I hear, I don't listen to it that much because I'm scared of what I'm going to hear in a negative way. But when I do hear the shit that people send me from English artists,
Incredible.
I'm like, why the fuck aren't I doing this? And I realise, okay, I don't. But, so we've still got our core hip-hop people. Do you know what I mean? We've still got people that make hip-hop. There was a band, God forgive me, and please forgive me, everybody out there, but I've just recently listened to a crew called, it's two guys, Children of Zeus.
Oh, mate, yeah. Now you're talking.
And it's like, and I'm sure I walked past one of the really tall one at one of John Z D's things.
Yeah.
I don't know who they are.
Either Tyler, I think it's Tyler, it's the tallest one.
And I was like, oh, interesting looking character.
Yeah.
You handle yourself well, you know. And then I started seeing this, and a friend of mine said, listen to that, and I was like, yeah, okay. I didn't. And then another friend of mine years later said, have you heard this? And I was like, played it. I thought, wow. I was like, man, okay. So I'm missing out. I've missed out on loads of years of hip-hop in this country. But people always come back to me and say, what would you tell the grime artists of today? What would you tell the drill artists of today? I wouldn't tell them anything.
Yeah, just keep fucking
I'd ask them, how'd you do it?
Yeah. But
Because the music's simple.
But that's the curiosity of a b-boy. And just going back to the label thing and the industry that Germany has and France has in America, because you guys, and I know I get the impression, and this is only through our conversations on the phone, that you kind of beat yourself up for certain aspects of trying to push the culture forward. Now, you were alluding to a conversation regarding Virgin and all the shenanigans that went on at that time.
You're very clever, aren't you?
You're
bringing me back to the drinking, aren't you?
Yeah. I want to know the deal because again, the resistance on the culture. Like, it's very easy to be sitting on the picket fence, throwing things at the
but not doing anything.
But not doing it. And and I've been there as well, you ain't in the mix. So you can't comment. Like, you ain't walking in a man's shoes.
I can't tell David Chase what should have happened to Tony Soprano.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I can't tell Stephen King that using vampire kids was a bad idea.
Yeah. You ain't there.
No.
What was it like being there?
It was amazing. It was amazing because I was with 3 mates.
Yeah.
And it was 4 mates, and it was brilliant. It was a different level to being, excuse me, to being that milk is coming back.
Hold on. Breathe deeply. Yeah.
It was a different level making pop music and being on the outside of it and looking in and working with someone like Simon Cowell and seeing how he worked.
But what about, you mentioned these parties, these
Right,
Virgin
so
parties.
Virgin at the time were huge. They had George Michael, they had the Spice Girls, which screwed everything for us.
Yeah.
We loved them girls,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we were screwed by my mate Richard Stannard and Matt Rowe, who produced all that. But the reason, I'll tell you what happened with me is we went to, I think it was a Velvet Rope Janet Jackson party.
Nice.
And it was in this place, you probably know, I know what it was, but I can't remember what it was. There was one party we went to, it was a Virgin Christmas party, and they had the Queen Alien hanging off the ceiling. And all the food, obviously, I'm there with food.
Yeah.
And I was drinking, being an arsehole, and being what people expected. That was me. And, you know, and they went to this Velvet Rope party, and there were it was a really high ceiling, but there were loads of, like, not tunnels as such, but what are they called?
Alcoves.
Yeah. So it was industrial. I don't know.
Yeah.
DJ Premier, I think that was the same party. Primo was playing. I never got to speak to him. I was a bit like, because he was working. And he dropped Don't Stop Till You Get Enough.
Nice.
But he doom, 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 doom. And it went, but that. No, actually, he didn't cut it up. He was playing something and he just went, da-da, and I thought, this geezer's serious.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's awesome.
He's got a bit of a job in this. He's got the future here.
You're all right with this, mate. Stay with me, I'll make you a millionaire. And I thought, this is great. And so I wasn't drinking, but I was listening and watching this. And then I noticed she came out of her little dressing room, surrounded by bouncers. She's about that big.
She being Janet.
Yeah, Janet. And everyone was going around. No one could get to her apart from her dancers and the security. And she had a little boogie. And I thought, that's a bit sad. It's your party, but you don't feel safe enough. And you're in an industry party. You can't just walk into this party. So you should feel all right.
Yeah.
And the A&R were coming up and saying, hi, Janet, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I thought, it's a bit sycophantic. I don't really like it. And then I watched the other artists that were there. And they were either doing a lot of drugs or pissed out of their heads. But it reminded me of like a scene from Caligula where he watches everybody else debauch themselves. And then I saw, I didn't see any sexual things, but all the people who were really high up in that industry, in the suits and that, were all sipping glasses of champagne or drinking spritzers or something. And they were all talking, looking on and networking. And then I looked from them to us lot, not the Brotherhood, but to, and they were just all the accounts and the secretaries and whatever, and they were the ones partying and getting pissed up on all this free shit, but they were doing the business. And I thought, we are fucking cannon fodder. We're a tax write-off.
Revelations that you just.
And I just looked at it and thought, Dexter, you've got to stop drinking because your head's. By the time you hit 35, you're going to be a clapped-out alcoholic who doesn't give a shit about music.
Yeah. With all the touring and the monotony.
We had riders, with Jack Daniels, bottle of this, bottle of that, and,
Yeah.
So I just decided from then on, cut it out. Just stop drinking.
Yeah.
I never smoked anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was 18, I didn't agree with me at all. But, yeah, I just stopped and I just looked at it for what it was and thought, there's more to this music business than having a great time and being on stage and giving it all a big one and wearing Timberlands and whatever. And I didn't like it. I didn't like what I saw. So, but I had my two mates with me. I had mates with me,
The protective kind of
Yeah,
shield.
yeah, it was cool, I don't know if they saw it. I always got the feeling that Spice was very much more in depth than what people may perceive him to be.
Oh, he's deep, man. He's a deep
he's
character.
a very intelligent man. Very intelligent man. He's well travelled.
And he's loyal as shit. He's always
That's
got
what
your back.
That's what gets him. I think is that if he feels that you've broke. I've got another best friend called Colt.
Yeah, big up
And Colt is 100% loyalty. And if someone crosses that, he'll put you in a pigeonhole watch you play yourself. If you do it again, you're out. That's the end of that. You're done with him. Shylock is we're all, I don't think I'm that particularly intelligent or above anybody else, but those two guys, I always used to say that they were like a boxer. Spice would deal with your head, Shylock would deal with your brain, with your body. No, Spice would deal with your body, Shylock would deal with your mental. And I would DJ and keep it all together.
That's what makes it great. Great. Ego.
Yeah.
Because you've mentioned this a couple of times. Do you feel like the way you managed yourself, or you had managed yourself back then? Because I don't see that, obviously. Like, I feel like do you give yourself a bit of a critical time about that?
Yeah, I'm my worst. I can't take praise or anything like that. I can't just. I don't think.
So where did is it the ego that compensates for that? Or back then?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I was Mista Dexter in the Brotherhood.
That was it. Yeah.
I do what I want. Yeah. I can get what I want. Yeah. I can be who I like. Everybody knows me. That's what I like. That's what I enjoy. Going in, working with people, heavyweight producers on the pop stuff, working with these people you see on Top of the Pops, working with Queen.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
You've
really got no one saying, shut the fuck up, mate. You're being a dick in the studio. All you're doing is talking about porn. All you're doing is having a drink. You're eating for the sake of eating because it's there. Yeah. You've lost control. Shut the fuck. No one's going to tell you to shut up.
Was that a reality? Was that a...
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know what? I really believe that. I believe in. This is going to sound so weird, but I believe in something watches over everybody. I think two things. All right.
No,
I believe two things watch over you.
Yeah.
A yin and a yang. Depending on who can get to you first, you can either go towards the yin or the yang. At a certain time, the yang might say, or the good and the bad, let's say, fuck the yin and the yang, the good and the bad.
No, we're fine. KILLA podcast, we've got some intellectual...
Oh, no, I don't know about that.
Ears out there.
I believe that you've got things around you and you're like a microphone. And one might say, yeah, you should do that for the money. Because imagine the money you're going to get if you do that, the money you're going to buy a Range Rover. You can have a big house, And I've had this whispered in my ear. Do a Kylie Minogue track, that's your house in Florida. You're like, wow, I can do any old shit and get a house in Florida. So you've got this guy going, yeah, you can do that. On the other side, you've got someone going, yeah, you should do that. But when it goes from you, when I take it away from you, because I can see where you should be going, don't hate me for it. So then you've got this thing of, you're in this thing in the moment and you're living, you're making $4,000 every time you walk in the studio and you're with people that you really trust and you really want to be a part of it. And you're untouchable. You come back to London and you're hanging out with your old mates who are hip-hop heads. You've got Big Ted singing the #1 chart hit that you've worked on in your face. And you've known Ted since he was a kid.
Be up, Ted, yeah.
Yeah, but all you want to do then is smack him to the fucking curb because you're like, you cheeky shit.
Oh, right. Yeah. He winding you up?
Yeah, winding me up. Right. He didn't think he was, because me and Ted are real close. We're good, but I've told him this. He didn't think he was because he knew me as his mate. But I was like, who are you to talk to me like that? You've not done anything I've done. And it came out as aggression because it was aggressive. I've had another guy, A-side, caught me on the stairs of some place and literally said, you're a sellout. What? I said, what? He goes, yeah, you're a sellout. You're a sellout working with Queen and all that. You're a sellout. And I said something that I'm not going to repeat what I told him, what I said to him, and I regretted it. I don't regret it now because I said it and that's it. But I was horrible to him. But even that was like, no one understood why I was doing it. And I lost focus of why I was doing it because that voice was telling me, fuck all that MPC, screw the hip-hop, you can be hanging out with these guys and doing
But was there an aggression to it based on something of a we all know that hip hop as a culture can be quite Lord of the Flies when it wants to be, and that can be quite suppressing for anybody that that feels like underdogged by the. Did you feel like there was a
backlash?
Was there a reason for you to feel that way? So resentful towards it?
Where I'd come from?
Yeah.
There was no reason for it. Only I made the reason.
Right.
My whole purpose not my whole sole purpose, but when I started making good money and I was being told, you're going to make £1 million, and I was on track to doing that. I was making some amazing records, The next stage of my production with Biffco would have put me in a totally different price bracket.
Yeah.
We were scheduled to do Texas, Kylie Minogue, and then I was kicked out there, and then they did U2. So that would have, and what I wanted to do from an early start of being with Biffco which was the company name,
right,
was give 100% to Biffco. Get those two guys, Julian and Biff, to help me put together a publishing company with studio access, so I could get. Back then, it would have been Black Twang, the Mud Family, this one, that one, free to create music. Get the guys that I'd worked
almost like
with,
a paddock, an incubating place that you could build.
Because I'd seen these Stargate were doing it, we were doing it.
Oh yeah, Stargate.
So I thought if I can take that idea and put it into British hip hop,
which is amazing.
And I thought I'd get those mix engineers who've got no hip hop ear whatsoever, but are the top of their game.
And you're the conduit to that.
Do that.
Yeah.
To bring and mix these two worlds together.
Yeah.
Do not water down what you do.
No.
Put out what you want. I want Chester P to say that on a
God,
record.
can you imagine that?
And I wanted to create something like a powerhouse that constantly churned out music faster than the faster than the BMGs and the Sonys.
Yeah.
And it would just flood the market. And that would have been what we've got now.
Yeah, yes, that's right.
And that was my sole purpose. And Spice had the right idea. He had the name of the production company. And I thought he was with it. He knew what I was going to do. Yeah. And we were like, yeah, I can do that. I can possibly make all this money for my family and for me.
Yeah.
But with my knowledge, I can make this bass.
Yeah.
And we can be Russell Simmons and Rick
that's
Rubin
right.
and go
For real.
bang.
So what happened?
I got kicked out of Biffco.
And the idea, is that why you and Spice don't talk now?
No. That was
that?
because of Hank Hughes.
Okay.
Hank Hughes was told him I was slagging him off in the studio because Hank Hughes was upset with me for going my own way. And so he told Chris that I was slagging him off. So when Chris phoned me up and said, I hear you've been dissing me in the studio, I said, yeah, I'm not dissing you, but yeah, I had a word with, I spoke with Hank. He said, you've been saying this and you've been saying that. And I said, yeah, I did, yeah. Because he was my brother. I could tell him, your shit stinks, mate. Shut the door. He could say, fucking hell, you're a dickhead. What are you wearing that for? We were brothers.
Yeah.
So when he said to me that, I didn't say, oh, no, it wasn't me. I said, yeah, I did. Because I feel that your rapping's falling off and I need to produce you and we need to work together like we used to and make it concrete. And if that doesn't work, we bring your cousin in. We start a record label. You do an album. Your cousin does an album. You manage an A&R it. I'll be Dr. Dre. And he was like, yeah, that's cool. And then the next thing I know,
all
it
these,
just escalated.
all these ideas.
I mean, I'm not to fault. I am to fault because it was a conversation I had with someone that I trusted, but I shouldn't have had that conversation with that snake. I should have gone straight to my mate and just said, I wouldn't have said anything about him saying what he was saying. I should have pulled him in earlier and said, brother, I'm not feeling you. And this is why. I had a conversation with Colt, the same thing. Me and Colt are best of mates. We're brothers. We had a conversation about a year ago of what we don't like about each other and what we like about each other.
Yeah, I think that's a banging exercise. Don't comment below.
You do it because I think that you should do it. Every 5 years, every 10 years, you should sit down and say, I don't like A, B, and C and D.
Yeah.
I don't like A, B, C, and D. Yeah. But I do like.
Yeah. Because you create a commonality of like, maybe actually, I don't like that neither. All right, well, would you stop then?
Yeah.
God, that's the best.
Stop it.
And in an age of social media and how
Well,
everyone's got
that's
an
the way
opinion,
it's run
it's the
away.
way it is now.
Yeah.
It's like people, you know.
But that's one of the reasons why I'm not interested. I'm interested. I'm working with Akil and Bam from Scientists to Sound.
Hold tight, Scientists of Sound.
And we're doing something called Nearest Green. And we've got a load of... Bam, I'm not producing any of it. Bam is just unbelievable, its production. It sounds brilliant.
They've been around here before, but back in the day.
Oh, mate.
Good guys.
Really cool.
I'll tell you a story about Arkil real quick. It's not my podcast, you understand. But, but Arkil, I remember he was doing, I can't remember what magazine, maybe it was Fat Boss magazine back in...
Matt Carter's magazine.
That's right. Yeah. And I was doing the first ever snowbombing event, and I just come back from skiing. I was running about 5 minutes late for Arkil, and Arkil was sitting there in the canteen. He's like, "No rush, bruv, no rush. Take your time. It's snowing out there. It's not easy to get." And I was like, "No, it's cool." And I sat down. I was like, "I've just been skiing." He turns around, and it was early in my career, and Arkil turns around to me, and goes, "You done what?" I said, "Well, I've just gone." He goes, "You knock out them teeth. You ain't beatboxing, mate. Get the fuck off that snow. Get the fuck off that snow." It's changed my life, bro.
Yeah, that's just so him.
When Arkil says something like that, you're just like, "Yeah, pay attention."
That's so him.
Yeah.
But
Bad
those two guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Bam is like giving me... Well, he was giving me like 10 beats a week. And I'm taking them into my machines.
10 beats a week.
Easily. And they're not even crap. They're like... Where do you start? We sat in my back garden and we had a little like continental breakfast and we sat there and we played at least 30 to 40 of the tracks that I'd siphoned out and had ideas. And I said, now my job is to go into my room and structure them.
Yeah.
And it's a really long process because I'm at uni, Akil's got a new job, Bam is... got an amazing job.
All locals too, round here, isn't it?
All locals, yeah.
All tight northwest, always.
Yeah, whatever. and it's a great project. We're excited about it. Getting together to do it is a different thing. But that's my new energy. That's
Isn't
why
it fun?
It is. It's great. It is. It's really brought me back in with my mate Colt and Prime Cuts and my other mates who have got my back and are always just going, do it. But then there's an element of me that everything that's gone wrong is hip-hop based. It's the weirdest thing. Cell One was talking to me about it. He's amazing, Stuart. And he said, let's take 5 things that have happened in your life. Bum, 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 bum. What's the core?
Hip-hop.
Hip-hop. And I was like, shit. And
No, maybe, hold on, wait a minute. We'll can hold that thought. But... just going back to the personality traits of all the decades that you've been working, but perhaps it's more about because your mode changes each time. You know, maybe, and this is by no means a counsel. I'm talking to my fucking hero, but I'm just thinking from a level of, you know what I mean?
He is, you know.
Yeah, you know, see what I'm saying? Because I'd never met you in any other context.
No.
I just know you as hip hop. Do you know what I'm saying? So. I'm only just looking at it from now, like in hindsight, it's always easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, you know, it is hip-hop, but at the same time, it's that relationship that you have that actually makes it what it becomes.
Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
When there was a big thing of fracas going on between between one friend and somebody else, and I actually sat there and I said, I'm retiring the name Dexter. Because all it does is bring me shit. I want to be a writer. I've got 1 billion stories in my head, 1 billion scripts. I've met 1 billion people. That's slightly exaggeration, but I've met all these different people. Now I'm going to be a writer. I'm learning the craft. I'm good at it. I know what I'm doing. I've always been good with words. Mista Dexter's something that I was. I like it. I like him. I liked what he did. But now it's over. It's done. I'm going to retire the name. I'm never going to be called that again. And I got a phone call from Blade. And I was like, hello, mate. Hey, how you doing, man? What's going on? I was like, yeah, I'm cool, bruv. Yeah, great. Everything's great. Blah, blah, blah. You sound pretty down, man. I said, yeah, I'm just thinking about hip-hop and all that. I said, you know something, Blade? I've known you longer than most people in this thing. And I fucking hate hip-hop, man. Hate hip-hop. And he knew what I was talking about with all these confrontations. I said, I hate hip-hop, man. I'm done. I'm retiring the name, Dexter. He said, okay, that's all well and good, man, but let me put this to you. I thought, oh, he's going to talk me out of it. And he said, it's not the hip-hop that you hate, it's the people within it. Fuck, it's like he's in the room, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
And I was like,
mind.
and I stopped and I thought, he's right. I love breaking. I love beats. I love rapping. I love the elements. I love this culture. It's just the people that come with it.
And it makes you react in a certain way, depending on the circumstances and scenarios. And yeah. But at the same time, like I was going to say, like I had said, it's the dance that you have with it that determines the outcome. You may have a really bad... Like, for all the experiences of Brotherhood, I still look upon it as like seminal. And had it not been for certain things to play out a certain way or the friction that become whatever, I mean, it all means nothing.
It means fuck all. It's all people.
It's all part of dance.
Yeah, it's just people. It really is. The beef between that one and this one, or he says this or something or there. Everyone should... I've always said this thing with Billy Business. Me and Business have these mad chats.
It's like more enforcing business, speak shout
It's so funny.
Business.
And Eugene and all these guys, and I talk to them and I'm saying, I've done the 30s, I've done my 20s, I've done, the 40s, I'm in my 50s. And after they say, shit, you look great, Dex, and they do, I say, my 60s and my retirement years, if I can afford to, I want to be sitting on a veranda somewhere, sipping a really good scotch with those guys, talking about what we did. That's what I want. I want to be in Ghana on my mum's land with my mates, sipping something, wearing shell toes.
Havana cigar. I can
Wearing
see it.
shell
I can
toes.
see it. Yeah.
Or sandals, and talking about, do you remember when? Do you remember when I hated your guts and you did this and you did that? Chink. To me, that's where we should be going.
The game of chess is
Not
real.
this crap.
Nah, there's a game of chess. Remember, at the end of the ride, what you got? Stories, and it doesn't matter who won what, who said what. It doesn't matter because that's hip hop.
It is. And
It's
people
all
outside of it will never. It's like these people. A lot of people, not a lot of people, but certain people say, "You ain't hip hop if you don't use vinyl. If you don't use vinyl, you're not hip hop." You've obviously never toured with record boxes. You've obviously never moved house 12 times with record boxes.
So I got rid of everything,
Mate.
man. It's a lot.
Thank God for digital music. I mean, I've still got my whole record collection.
Oh yeah,
all of it. I don't play it. I don't need to. I don't play it. I don't enjoy it as much as I used to.
it just takes up 12 inches out of your
It's
in
just
front of your wall.
ridiculous,
Yeah.
And I still have it. I beat a Prime Cut's house. He's got a living room full of vinyl, and it's like, no, what are we doing? We can't let go of this stuff. I've got trainers that I've never worn. I've started wearing them this summer. Because I don't know if I'm going to,
What's the pull on hip hop? What is the pull on hip hop? What is it that makes, if you don't mind me saying, if you're in your 50s and
yeah, 54.
and it's still, I can see in the eyes, bro. I can see the passion. You're just like there talking, like, you know what I mean? You started talking about the new projects, and you're like I said, it's contender raise. This isn't sitting on laurels business, and your eyes tell the story. It's like it's still, it's a pull.
Do you know what? When I was making pop, the problem I have is if I spark up my MPC or I put the records on and I hear a sample, my problem being having the pop music in me, that success is, I think this will be great for that. I'm going to loop it like this, and then it's going to get to this person, and that person's going to use it, and then I'm going to be, and it's this voice again saying, yeah.
This could be the big thing.
That is the thing. I don't want the big thing. I think the fuck up with hip hop, everyone's still looking for the perfect beat, and it's not there. You're never going to find it. It's like clicking on porn. You're always one click away from the perfect site, from the perfect scene. Yeah. It's not there.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
But the pull with me and hip hop
endorphin,
is
serotonin.
The history. The first time I ever saw any of it is still there. It's still there. And I always said to myself, the day I wake up and I don't want to make music is the day I cut it all off. And thank God it's never really happened. I got to a point a few years ago, I went to see the Arctic Monkeys play. And Colt phoned me up and I said, I'm done with this shit, man. I'm done with hip hop. I said, I'm just done with it. It's just ridiculous. I don't understand it. I can't get with it. And he was really disappointed in me because he says that I helped him discover his thing. And then I had a conversation with him and he bought an MPC Live and an MPC X. And he said, listen to this. And he played me this stuff and he was trying to work out how to use it. And he played me these beats. And I was like, whoa. Well, Colt, you've got it. He goes, yeah, but how do you do that? I said, don't try and copy J Dilla. Don't copy that one. You've got a style. And I was like, shit. And you know what it is with hip hop? It's this. When you hear something and you go, oh man,
don't touch that.
Leave
it.
Don't. That is it. And if you've been touched by it.
I don't want a Bambata kind of way.
No, we're not talking about that. But when you get touched with it,
on here.
I often think, how are you still doing that?
Yeah.
Everyone that does it does that.
Yeah.
Because that's the groove, man. That's hip hop. For me, that is the hip hop. That's it. And it doesn't matter who comes in your life, who leaves your life. You know, I hear people talking about they don't want to be here anymore. And, you know, I've been to that place. I've been to that thinking, you know what, if I wasn't here, then that wouldn't happen, and these guys wouldn't do this, and that wouldn't happen, and they would be all right. And if I wasn't here, then that would be... Man, if I wasn't here, I couldn't feel the sun on my skin. I couldn't feel the rain on me. Do you know what I'm saying? I couldn't hear that shit. I couldn't sit here and do a podcast for millions of people.
I'm saying.
I've been there. Do you know what I mean? And I've got mates who have been there and worked out how to do this fucking heinous thing. But I'm not there anymore. And it's because I want to drive down the road with the windows open, playing the Beatles. I love the Beatles. I love Fleetwood Mac. I love music. I love Cat Stevens. I like Wu-Tang.
Bad news.
Bad news! I love films. I love eating. I love everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. And I love hip hop, and that's what it's about. It's
It's finding it in your life, putting it in the right place, and don't wrestle the demon that is in it.
No. Just let it happen. I mean, how could I go out and say to gigs, you're doing it wrong, mate? Because Rakim did it back then.
It don't work like that.
Look, you know, I don't particularly... I had a really good conversation with one of my old MCs, MC Can, Jimmy Lowe. And he said, he said, listen to the beats. You could do the beats easily. And then put the rapping over the top of it. They're not the best flows, but that's not the music they're catering for. Yeah. The music they're catering for is what they're making. And so when they're doing their thing, I'm like, wow, God bless you, all of you, unbelievable. I know that there's a lot of negative element in it, and I know that it sparks a lot of shit. So did hip hop.
Yeah.
So did hip hop.
Yeah. And if it's scaring your parents, then it's gotta be right.
Be good. Yeah.
It's gotta be good.
You know, don't criticize. You know, there's knife crimes up, blah blah blah, and because of this music. Music is a vessel for people. It always has been. And when we listen to like things from New York back then, it was all fun and it was great hearing somebody talk about shooting that one or robbing this one or humping this one. Because it wasn't knocking on our door. But now it's been here for years.
Yeah.
And we don't like it, you know, because we're older.
Yeah.
And we can see that that's screwed up. Yeah. But we're not going to be able to tell them not to do that.
No.
Because that's their thing. I can't condone it. It's not called knife crime. It's crime. People die. And I had to do this radio show. I was asked to do a radio show in February. And I had to reverse all the cusses. And it was a hip-hop radio show. And it really turned my stomach, what I was listening to. What I would have listened to years ago and thought nothing of it. What I listened to, I was like, this is all fantasy. This is all make-believe. This is ridiculous. This is pathetic. And I thought, yeah, I've got all these tunes. And then you get older and you sound like your dad or your mum or your uncle and whatever. And you realise that you do have a responsibility. You can choose to do a radio show playing that stuff. Or you can do a radio show that just does instrumentals. You have the choice to do that. You're not in that group anymore. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, it's a call to arms, to be fair. That's a really...
You know,
these are really...
you have the choices.
Yeah.
Words are... Somebody very dear to me said, words are very important. What you put out there...
Careful what you say.
Careful what you say. So, it's easy for me to... I could rap here now and talk about doing whatever and doing this and doing that.
But it'll come back to
But
you.
it comes back on me. If it comes back on me, it's my fault. I'm the one who's pushed the bear. You know? I'm the one
I
who's...
think about it all the time. It's true.
Yeah, it's so true. It's, you know, if you're willing to throw up and say, when neo-Nazis and those sort of people go to prison, or gang members go to prison, the first thing they want to do is show, I understand it, is show what they're wearing, throw off their colours, show off their stickers, whatever, so people can say he's so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. You can do that in your music, but when you're not around the same people that like that shit, be prepared for what's going to come to you.
Yeah.
Don't, you know,
that.
honestly, KELA, I'm not a guy that I am preaching. I can hear myself preaching and I'm absolutely hating myself for it. I'm just worried that people are getting lost in hate and not loving enough because we haven't got enough of it. We are screwed as beings. We are just, what am I talking? I'm just talking nuts.
Apathy.
I look at people, I listen to music and it's just like, wow, what are we doing? I can't change it. I'm not going to be able to change it. You know.
But maybe this is the kind of opportunity to say it, because the truth that does not play into people's narratives out there, and you can't. Not everyone's narratives, of course. That people go through stuff, and that's life as well. That's other people's. We all have different walks of life, but when your back's against the wall as an individual and you don't have the opportunity to, you kind of think to yourself, well, fuck it. If he ain't bothered...
Why should I be bothered?
Well, if they're not bothered, I'm not bothered. But then that also feeds the beast as well.
Yeah, you've got two people talking to you constantly.
Yeah.
And one's got your back, one hasn't. Yeah. You might do something now that you really love, and the next year it's taken away from you. And you don't know why, and you hate it. But there's a reason why. And you've got to, I think, personally, you have to sit out that shit
as well
to
as
understand your stuff, to understand why that happened. Why did that happen? That's why I was kicked out of that. Because if I wasn't kicked out of that, I wouldn't be at university doing a creative writing course. I wouldn't. I would probably be extremely rich, but I wouldn't want to talk to you. I wouldn't want to talk to Prime or Lee Boy or, Nicky or Can or Cole because they would be my mates. I'd know them, but I would be the one with the Game Boy in the playground.
Yeah.
You know? I don't understand why I would have got that way. I would have been that way.
And that's not you.
Exactly. It's not, but it might have been. So now, through doing a course of this, something totally out of my. I had 5 years ago. I was like, who wants to do that? Sitting with people who are like-minded and educating yourself. It's not a difficult. I don't find it really difficult. I find it exciting, and that excitement that I get when I'm writing a story about a bloke who's killing who's being held back by his mother, ends up killing her. That story, that script, fills me with as much adrenaline and excitement as when I was making records with Colt and Can and No Sleep Nigel as D to the K. When I was sitting in studios with Spice and Shylock and The Underdog, and when I was working with Biff and Julian and Jake Davis and the other guy, all these other guys. But instead of relying on other people bringing what they bring into the table,
it's just you.
This is me.
And that's a good feeling.
And that's an amazing feeling to read something, and when you're reading, when you're typing every line,
you own it all,
and all of a sudden it goes from here to there, and you're pissing yourself laughing.
and just getting excited.
And you're going, oh, and then this can happen, and then that can happen, and then they can do this.
And then before you know it, it's 3:30 in the morning.
And you're like, fuck, shit, I've got to hand it in.
On? Yeah.
You know, my problem with writing is if I've got a piece to write and you've got 3,000 word count or 4,000 word count, I'm cutting back 3,000 words, and I'm like, shit. And that's part of the process. I might be really boring you now because it ain't about hip hop.
No, but it's not. It's the that's the craft, man. That's the skill set. Like you're really to scale back. That's actually some people really get a kick out of that as the game. That's the real game.
Well, my one of my lecturers, Richard Hamlin, said he really loves creating this huge thing and then editing it. And I think if you look at rap, when I was writing songs, we did sort of the same thing. And I think with rap, freestyle rap's a different animal.
Yeah,
you know?
they're different beasts.
Some people can do it really well. Some people think they can. But I think if you write a rap, if you write an 8-bar or a 12-bar or 40, 16, whatever, and you, instead of going, yeah, that's done, if you leave it for a couple of days and you forget the hype that you're in it and you read it again, you may change it. And that will kick your adrenaline in again.
Yeah.
And think, now play that beat. Bang, I'm in it. I'm going to do it. And that's what a good producer will do. A good producer will hear everything and say, that works, that doesn't, that can. And a good artist will say,
yeah, you're right.
I understand what you're saying, but maybe if we did, some artists will go, what did you know about it? You ain't doing what I'm doing.
And see how long they have.
You know what I'm saying? And that's...
See, this is here, and just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, because I feel like what I take from this conversation more than anything on reflection, and remember, just to heighten the fact that, you're busy doing stuff, to come and check us and have a chat. This has been a lesson in the realities of artistry. It's been an insight into the skill set and technique, the emotional attachment of creating, and blow-by-blow accounts, in a way that I don't think's been articulated on the podcast for a long time.
I watched Harry's podcast.
Harry Love.
Yeah.
Big up, Harry.
And Harry knows a lot about another side of me. And when I watched Harry's podcast, I wanted to take off his hat and his coat and his glasses. And I wanted to see the Harry I know. But he understands that's a very rare Harry to see. Harry is a very complex and wonderful man. Seen him grow up, like I've seen Chester, and I've seen Skinny, I've seen all these kids. And they're kids to me, they still are, they always will be. George Harrison's always going to be a kid to Paul McCartney. Not saying that I'm anywhere near that sort of thing, but... And look at Mongo, or I know him as Mono. That's a mountain of a man. He was a mountain of a kid. And yet I still feel protection for him. He may think he can rip my head off. He wouldn't, ever. But what I'm trying to say is I still feel very much as a protector of their vulnerabilities. I'm not saying that Skinny and Mongo and those have, but people that I've met, people that I know personally, I still feel very much a protector of their persons. It's hard to articulate.
I'm loving you explaining it.
I just feel that because I've known them as my own kids, I just want to tell them, you've got people around you. You've got the PICs. You've got the Dozes. Because when I went to COVENT, the reason why I went back, and I went with Perry and I went back, is because I met Robbo and I met Doze and then Drax. And they were a different kettle of fish to the others. And they were like taking the piss out of me and laughing with me and having a great time. And I thought, actually, these geezers are brilliant. I really like these blokes, you know. And from them, other writers came out of the woodwork. Anyway, and I just feel that people like Harry. I mean, there's not many people like Harry.
No.
Harry's definitely got people talking to him because they talk. Anyway, they've got people talking to him, and I just want people to know that, or kids that I know and I've grown up with. There's always someone to call and talk to about anything. The guy that my mate Rich Biff, who we fell out with, and we've got a great friendship. We're good mates. I don't doubt if I'll ever have the opportunity to work with him again. But we talk about music, but we talk about John Pertwee as Doctor Who. We talk about Space 1999. We talk about other things, and I think that if you need to say something to someone, you pick up the phone or you make that thing and you say to that person, I'm just thinking about you right about now. How you doing? Blah, 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 chatting away. And I think Harry and other people, I'm not making sense. I know what I want to say and I'm not making sense, but I think that I feel being a part of this hip-hop thing and before they came into it, I feel a real father connection to them. I can't give them all the money that will make their dreams happy. I can't make them happy. I can't make their dreams come true. But I value what they've done, and I value my friendship and connection with them, all of them. And if anything were to happen to any of them, if they were to fight each other, I would definitely step in the middle and just try and calm it down or just help them. If I could have succeeded in what I wanted to do, we could all be sitting on the beach having a good laugh with our kids and our family and our dogs and our cats and whatever.
It's only a ride, isn't it?
It is.
To coin
That's
a
all
phrase.
it is, man. Up and down. We don't know when we're going to be snatched out. And I think I love the idea of what it could have been or what it can be if we put all our energies in one basket and all our grievances to a side and just enjoy what we've got, man. You know, just enjoy what we've got. Let's get a minibus and drive to Brighton and eat fish and chips.
Let's go on a Margate Beano.
Let's go on a magical mystery tour and just,
Yeah, it's Laser Quest. Come on.
What? Laser Quest? Let's have a night of Big Lebowski and White Russians.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to be around forever.
Yo, I tell you, man. See, and this is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I wanted from your podcast, brother. It's exactly what I wanted.
But you edit it all out.
Hell no.
I mean, what about...
Unfortunately for you.
I'm apart from doing the thing with the Kill and apart from doing the writing, it took a lot for me to go and get a delivery job because I hadn't worked since 1994. I'd not been paid for work. I was always freelance, so I did my own thing. I had a kids thing. I was teaching children music. COVID came, evaporated, gone. So I'm like, well, I'm bored. I'm doing my writing. That's great, but I need to get money in. I need to do something. So I deliver food.
Oh, come on, then. That's a
big chain. Yeah, for a big chain.
Yeah,
and it's
nice.
And it's an amazing job. I told Chester, and Chester said, "Fuck, that's a perfect job for me, but I can't drive." Because he got that you're on your own, and I'm meeting different characters every day.
And you're able to, in your own thoughts, cultivate ideas and just...
Yeah, it's brilliant. But the shame of it was that Mista Dexter from back there was... Wow, you're going to have to go and work. We'll have to go get work. What if someone recognises you? What if you knock on someone's door and it's somebody you used to work with and they're doing better than you and all that? And it took me a good few months to get my head around the fact that that guy don't exist.
Yeah, man. But I feel you.
Doesn't exist.
There's an age for that as well. Like I think it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. That thing doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's a different you. It's a different thing.
It is. And that was the voice again. That was coming in and saying, I was like, you know what, I wouldn't mind doing that. I wouldn't mind working in a cinema. Imagine working in a cinema. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
You could eat hot dogs, you could eat popcorn, drink Pepsi, and watch brand new films.
All the time.
And sit in the dark.
Yeah.
All the time. But the idea of a legend working in a cinema, Don't be ridiculous.
I kind of like that.
Well, don't be ridiculous.
I think I've come of the age and of the mindset that if you can achieve your dreams and fulfill them and get to the other side, at the age that you so choose, you should earn yourself the right to earn a wage that is of the age you are.
Check the parking.
Yeah.
Does that mean I've got that left? Oh, 48 minutes.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
I'll extend it a little bit.
No, it's all good. We're wrapping up anyway. I believe that if you've fulfilled your dreams and you've met your quota,
You are clever. You go on.
yeah. If you fulfill your dreams and you met your quota, then at 43 years old that I am, I deserve a 43-year-old wage. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Because without that, what are you actually existing for?
What are you doing for? What are you doing? What are you doing?
You know, you have this wealth of opportunities that have come and gone, the catalogue of things in your head and all the things you could acclaim and talk about over a pub with a selective few people that even give a shit. What is left?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, what is left of you?
Yeah.
What is... It's with this job here, right? I want... My thing now is I really want to show the world I can write, I can do scripts,
Exactly.
and the ideas that I've got are
Some Stephen King shit.
amazing. You know, I just love it. I love it. I love the people I'm working with. I love all the people at Birkbeck and all my student colleagues, and it's just fantastic. You know, my mate Steve Lorraine, and it's just great. It's just a great time in my life right now. I'm really happy with Akil and Bam. And I'm just happy with it all. And getting that job, I was a bit like, ugh. But then I realised, like my sister said to me, and people have said, that job is perfect. Think about what you're doing. You're not only delivering to people who either don't want to go out and get stuff or can't go out and get stuff or just are too busy to do it, but you're building up the catalogue of characters. Because I don't know who's behind the door.
Scripts.
Yeah, I don't know who's behind the door. So I'm getting in my van, doing my van checks. I'm looking at all these people working in this place.
You're building up a
And this guy
catalogue.
talks to this guy differently. And I'm like, okay, I've got a little pad.
It's true.
I jump in the van, bang, kickstart it. Where am I going? EC1. Boom, 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 boom. Knock on the door. Who is it?
And you watch these things all the time on YouTube of how certain people got to the success they were. You've got to fill the well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 54, so I've got decades of stories.
Yeah.
But now, it's sad because I've got more years behind me than in front of me, yet I'm meeting new people every day.
This is going to be the musical, you know, like, again, talking 5 years as you have been, the next ones could be the story of, like, how you came up with this script or this book or how you... And you'll be seen in a different light as, like, a novelist.
That's
or
the
a
plan.
scriptwriter. That's
the plan.
sick.
But imagine a novelist who DJs, who can play and do this, and talk about that and this, and how he did this and how he did that. You know, it's the world is
exciting.
See, I would love to see people like Chester, and Harry, and Skinny, and my mate, this guy Chris Geo Mist, who he lives in Tunbridge. I'd love it if you kept this in.
Mm-hmm.
He lives in Tunbridge. He's got daughters. He's married. He makes a phenomenal music. He has no belief in himself whatsoever, but his music's awesome. I lent him an MPC, and people like that, if they were doing the course that I'm doing now,
change our whole...
oh, imagine Chester P writing books or poetry or scripts. No one could tell him anything.
You can give a man a fish, but
Yeah.
give him the net.
to catch it.
That's
I mean,
so
imagine
I'm
that.
with you.
Imagine
I'd
someone
love
like
to do that. That sounds
it's-
cold.
creative writing is a degree that.
Especially from an MC, poetry,
Oh,
hip hop. Oh, I mean, the list goes on. It's just
Yeah.
such a good. It's just a good life skill, isn't it?
Brilliant.
That's why I big up all the MCs all the time.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's like, you know, I don't care if it's drill, grime, whatever. It's like to put your neck on the line like that and
to say what, imagine putting a drill artist
Yeah.
or a grime artist or a good hip hop artist in a creative writing poetry session.
Crazy.
And telling them what poetry is, which no one really knows what poetry is.
It goes on. It's a
and
list.
then they come out. This guy comes out with the clouds move as she does, and this guy comes out with something totally different. They'll be like, "Well, that's a different take on Wordsworth. That's a different take on
I
Shakespeare."
tell you who you need to check out. Wonk Unit. Oh, my name escapes me. The geezer that does it, but he does work. He does builder's poetry. Some
Brilliant. I
other
know.
level
I
shit.
can even understand what that is. Did you ever used to watch a show called Dogface?
Yeah, of course. That rings fucking true bells. What?
Do you remember the guy that used to be a closet
this was a 90s
homosexual?
thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
the guy used
mate.
to be gay and he would say, course, she's a bit of all right.
Yes, I do.
But,
yeah.
you know, imagine if we were stormed by a Russian, Russian special service and you were told to one of that geezer over there, I'd do him. That's such a brilliant character. And he goes right into it and his mate's going, leave it out, Gal. And he's going, yeah, I mean, if I was that way inclined, but
Yeah, that's
that's a brilliant character. You know, we were talking about comic strip
Yes.
on the phone.
Oh, my
and
God.
Our
The comic strip, for those who don't know, it was Rick Mail, Aid Edmondson, and a whole slew that became the new generation of 80s and 90s comedians.
alternative comedians, they were called, yeah. And they just taught us how to be funny.
Yeah.
The generation that came after Python.
But I can see that you would do script and script writing and not, book related things because you are so into movies and into programs.
It's the only thing.
Comedies.
I mean, you look at something like what Mark Gatiss and Reece Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton, League of Gentlemen,
Legendary.
Booker, what they write, what Roald Dahl wrote,
Yeah.
kids' stories, adult stories. It's mind blowing. I've got so many stories about the hip hop days in my head. I won't ever discuss them here, but you'll read them. And I hope it's gonna make people go, oh, that's a bit weird. Why wouldn't you put something really dark in a hip hop jam? Something that's going on. Why wouldn't you put something really dark? There was a really great show on TV called Midnight Mass. And it's sort of very Stephen King, Salem's Lot. But the vampires, I've been trying to come up with a really good vampire story. And because of an interview I saw, I've got one. I've got one. And I believe...
Well, you ain't going to hear that here.
No, I'm going to write it for my dissertation. I believe it's really good. But this thing, Midnight Mass, is very Stephen King, Salem's Lot, which is one of my favourite books. But the twist on the vampire is they've still got their human traits. They're not dark, they're not in love, but they still feel they have a conscience. So when they're killing their kids, because they have to, they realise what they're doing.
Is that, yeah.
You know, like a vampire in usual fiction would rip open his lover, drink the blood, and then go to the next one and think, yeah, I'm almighty.
Yeah.
These guys are like, I killed my family. And they're like, I killed mine in this little village. And I was watching it thinking, that is genius. To give vampires a conscience. Although he had Angel, but he was mesmer. He was magicked over. These people are like me and you, becoming vampires and killing.
They don't necessarily want to be it.
No, but they have to because of that craving that they've got. And their animalistic instinct. And then when they come out, they're like, I've just killed my best friend. And it's like, that's a brilliant idea. That's a brilliant idea.
And you go through all of this as a script where you're constantly processing and absorbing new influences. Everything you do within your job is now an impact.
Massive influence now.
Previous experiences of social commentary and people behaviour, people traits within the music industry, other influences in magazines, books, poetry. Future's bright with your...
Man, I'm buzzing right about now. I'm just hoping that whatever is looking over me, my God, my angels, will give me the time to do it all. Because I couldn't have done this 20 years, 30 years, 10 years ago. I couldn't have done this. I've had to come to this point. I've had to lose everything. I've had to,
to recalibrate.
To understand what I'm meant to be doing. And this is it. This is what I'm meant to be doing. And with that, things will come up. I'm not asking anybody for anything. I'm not demanding that you buy my music or you read my books. But it's something that I'm so passionate about because I know I'm good at it. I know I'm good at making beats. I know I'm good at scratching. I know I'm good at making people laugh. I don't think I'm funny at all. I really don't. But people will say, "Oh, you're really funny," and that makes me play up and act and be funny for them because I love the way they react to it. You know, but I mean, that's a bit of a lie. I do know that I can make myself laugh. But some of the things that come out of here onto there are so dark that I can't help but laugh. You know? It's... What about a guy that makes coffee downstairs and poisons the people that are rude to him? But gives a little bit more coffee to the people that he likes. And then he gets it all mixed up. You could do anything with a coffee cup. You could make anything come out of that. That could mean something. Some secret society. That if you're giving it in the coffee shop like that, it means nothing. But if I give it to you like that, it's a whole different... okay, I know what you're about.
Your creative receptors are on fire right now.
I love it, man. I just love it. And it's, you know, it's come out of music and it's gone into this. Like, you've got a bin over there full of graffiti cans.
Yeah.
Full of spray cans.
Yeah, I do.
You know what I mean? I don't know what you've written with those. I don't know what's guided you to write anything with those.
Yeah,
so I could make it up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess they're walking into scenarios and it plays a part in then a narrative that you can then regurgitate into a script or creative form.
Yeah, I love it.
God, I love it.
You walk into rooms and like, in this room I can see a fridge. I don't know if Keller's got a head in the fridge. You don't, do you?
Yeah, there's a couple out there that I want to get.
I may have one in a minute, you son of a bitch. But I love it, you know. It's the next stage for music for me, and I know I'm going on about it, but it's just a very exciting time. Very exciting time. Things that were important to me, belt buckles with my name on it, that was important at the time. Having 2 1200s, that was important. Getting the car I want, that was important. This is important because this is life-changing for everybody around me and everyone else. If I write books and I get to Stephen King level, when I write books and I get to Stephen King level, like Spice said, if I eat, you eat. The Beatles made Apple Core to help people develop their skill and make them rich. And it didn't work because people were greedy. And I believe that if we had more people that actually... Why wouldn't you open a centre? We were talking about footballers today in the barbers. They were talking about, I hate football. They were talking about this guy who sold for 90 million. And I said, how much does he get? And he goes, well, he's on 250 grand a week. Now, why wouldn't that footballer... He may do, I don't know. But why wouldn't a footballer who gets 250 grand a week put his money or get backers to build a centre, like a hotel, for homeless people with showers, free food, and teach them skills and respect for each other and themselves? I went out with... I won't mention who he is because I think he'll be embarrassed by it, but I went out once with somebody and we were giving cups of tea and things to people, and he said they don't want money. Some people prefer living like this. So it's not patronising, it's asking them if they want something. They don't want the money, they want this and that. And people think, oh, they're only going to spend it on drugs or drink. And he said, whatever gets them through the night. And I thought, you're a genius. Is he also the same guy? I really want to mention him, but you all know him, who also said to me when the riots were happening, and I was one of the people there saying, they're burning our city, they're doing this, they're only robbing JD Sports and this and that, they're taking... I was that guy. And I said that to this guy, and he said, yeah, but Dexter, what else do they know? I was like, what? And he said, if you're growing up in an environment where Nike trainers are the thing to have, and you've got a chance to get them for nothing.
Yeah, it's like if you're going to get 12 tens, isn't it? You know?
And I was like, for a guy who's at least 10 years younger than me, you are so not you. You've been around before, pal. You know, and they're the people that I'm inspired by everybody and everything. It's not only to make music, but just to create, you know.
Yeah.
I love it, man. And I love doing things like this as well. You're doing a great job.
Oh, my God.
Doing a sterling job, mate. Really,
Thank you for
honestly.
joining us, brother.
It's cool. It's all right.
It's been awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
Hasn't
it's probably one of the most serious interviews I've ever done.
That's what I like to
It's,
hear.
do you know who you remind me of? Not in your mannerisms,
Go on.
but your face. You remind me of two people who you look like.
Go on. Or do they look like me? It depends how old they are.
They're both dead, but
Okay.
you look like my old manager Martz
Yeah.
and Bob Hope.
Bob fucking Hope.
What do you think? It's Bob Hope.
Comments
and
the
you don't know
motherfuckers
Martz, but
below.
yeah, I'm telling you.
Comment below.
And I love that
No
because you've
offence
got a
to-
great face.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Perry's got a great face, you know.
Yeah.
But
Thank you so much.
yeah, man, it's great. This is a great thing you're doing. You, Blade,
Yeah, hold tight.
and All City, No Petrol, Steve. You're doing a great thing with documenting everybody's shit, and you're all doing different interviews about different things of my
Integrating,
life. You know, you've between all of you. I've got another one to do if they can get in touch with me.
We don't need to talk about them.
Yeah, well, they're going to do one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, something different. I don't like watching podcasts when one guy says the same thing all the time. You know, I knew a lot about Harry, but I found out a lot about him. I knew a lot about Chester, but not as half as when you think you know a man and you watch something and you're like,
I almost certainly think that this is another one of those podcasts for you whereby you get into the nuts and bolts of things and people, it's mad how people, they're sitting here watching this through the whole duration. You rapidly become more approachable just on this singular conversation.
well, that's the other thing about what you said about Covent Garden. I know we're wrapping it up, but what you said about Covent Garden, a lot of those people were not approachable. They were not approachable. They just weren't. And they weren't stars or anything. They could just do something better than the majority of people at the time. But they were horrible and they weren't approachable. And the second generation that I met, the Robbo and the Dozies, hip-hop was what they loved. But they also liked fighting at football games. They also liked going out and getting pissed. They also liked women. They liked hip-hop. And they were approachable. So anyone that came to Covent Garden on that side of it, the old school had their bit, and they were the core, and they were the originators. That was cool. That's great. But there were more people on this side because we were approachable. They were approachable. And I've still got mates from there now.
There you go. See?
I don't need any more mates, but I'm making them all the time.
Well, you got one here.
Yeah, big time, you know. You've got to come over to the garden and see. I've invited Chester over for
don't.
for tea and biscuits
Come on then.
in the garden. But the sun,
in.
you know.
I'm in.
Let's
Tea
go.
biscuits in the
Let's
garden.
go.
That's a bit of us, isn't it?
You know. What's your favourite biscuit?
Yeah. Hobnob, chocolate hobnobs.
See, they go through me like a Porsche, but
That's
I
what
do
I'm
like
saying.
them.
They go through me like
I
a Porsche.
I do like them. I like chocolate McVitie's. There used to be one called Abbey Crunch.
Oh, I do remember that. Malted milks, they go through
Yeah,
me too.
they're good though, aren't they?
I mean, the tea is a mere conduit to the. It's a vehicle.
It is. You
isn't
should do a podcast about dunkability.
Dunkability.
Because I believe that the dunkability of a biscuit from the 70s and the 80s is better than the dunkability
I
from
couldn't
now.
agree more. Everything is, I just believe that we're all spiraling out of control into a world of just being duped.
Soggy biscuits.
Soggy
that
bloody
doesn't
biscuits.
hold the weight.
Yeah. Things like that. Watch out for dunkability coming to a fucking podcast near you.
Dunkability. You're trying to really make it all bad and that. You work dunkability, like, I don't even have to open my mouth and dunkability.
You disrespecting the road like that. You need that
Get me your
dunkability.
dunkability, bruv.
Dexter, you're a star. Top
Thank you, mate.
boy.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for
Brilliant.
coming through, my brother.
Brilliant.
You know what it is. KILLA Podcast, all right? KELA Vision HQ. Only doing it proper. Sharing is caring. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Don't talk to anyone I wouldn't.
And if you need Brotherhood t-shirts, get in touch with me. I'll print them customised for you. If
Come
you want.
on. Like that, people. All right? You stay lucky, don't talk to anyone I wouldn't. I said it before. I said it again. We're out of that. Peace.
Lovely.